In today's Leeds news, weekend transfer wrap-up, Leeds weekend results, Ljubicic link re-emerges, Jack Clarke interest, and Clarke explains Piroe call. Morning folks, Jer here, Monday morning the 19th of August. We're nearly there. We've got Friday week is the closing of the transfer window of what should be a very busy 2 weeks for Leeds in the transfer window, or major questions will be asked once the 49ers do speak to the fans, as they said they will do when the transfer window closes. Dejan Ljubicic has said he wants 4 players in. He has labelled what they are: left back, centre mid, replacing for Cree and replacing for Jorginho Rutter. But he is also managing expectations recently. He talked a few weeks ago about Leeds operating with limited resources, and after the game this weekend he also pointed out that Leeds may not get all of their targets. From a Leeds fan perspective, to calm everyone down, they'd want to get a couple of those targets at the very minimum. But we'll get into that in a second. There are some links today, some re-emerging links. But we'll start off by just wrapping up some of the weekend transfer rumours that were floating around. The first one was on Friday, and it came from Sports Witness. And they claimed that Leeds United and Norwich were both interested in Hammarby striker Youssef Arabi. Now, Arabi is a young striker who's currently playing for Hammarby. They're in their mid kind of season. It runs until November. And he scored 7 goals in 16 games so far in the current campaign. He has missed a portion of the campaign due to an injury that he picked up, but last season he scored 11 and 29 for the club. Now, the report claims that there's ongoing discussions between Hammarby, Leeds and Norwich around the player, but it should also be said that the club are looking for €10 million, so about £8.5 million for the player, which for a player with in the Swedish league with not a huge amount of goals as a striker, I probably think there's more noise in this than actual reality, so I don't think it's a player Leeds would be looking at. I could be wrong, but I don't see this as a player that you would imagine Leeds are keen to sign right now, when it's a position that Leeds are not even looking at, and Clarke hasn't mentioned that Leeds want a player. And the second one that came up over the weekend was from Sasha Tavaleri. He said Leeds, AEK Athens and Besiktas are all interested in Largi Ramzani. Now, we've heard Ramzani linked with Leeds before during this summer, but nothing has come of it. There is still no offer on the table for Ramzani, and there is talk in Spain that the player is looking at renegotiating his contract with Almeria, who were relegated to La Liga 2 last season, and he may be staying there, so an unlikely one again in this window, but we will keep an eye on that one because he is a wide player and he does kind of suit the profile that Leeds are looking for. Moving on to the weekend results, and Leeds, a very young Leeds United under 21 side, started off their PL2 campaign against Stoke City and got a 1-1 draw in that game. Luca Thomas with the goal as he opens his scoring campaign for the season. Another young, impressive player to keep an eye on, who was involved with the Leeds senior setup during the pre-season tour. Leeds under 18s started their season off as well, and they took on FAU Cup champions Manchester City and drew 0-0 in that game. It's a decent result for them to start off their campaign against a strong Manchester City outfit. And then Leeds women started their season as well, and they lost 2-0 at home to Huddersfield. Not the start that they would be looking for to kick off their campaign, but we'll keep an eye on all of the results of all of the sides as the season moves on. Moving into the transfer situation now, and some reports have come back out around potential moves from Leeds United. The first one being a potential move for Leeds United back for Dejan Ljubicic. Dejan Ljubicic was left out of the FC Cologne side this weekend, and the reason given for it was a knee injury that he sustained in training. However, according to Kicker in Germany, they claim that the player trained all the way up until Friday with the team, and there wasn't a mention of an injury before the game. The injury seems to have happened before the match, and they claim that the player is trying to push through a move to Leeds United in this window. Now, it should be said that this is all just hearsay and conjecture right now. It hasn't been confirmed by anybody, but if he has picked up a knee injury, that would mean it's unlikely that he'll move to anybody this stage, this side of the window, because he's going to have to do a medical, and if he's got a knee injury, that will cause problems. If the knee injury is part of a smokescreen to try and help him push through a move, we'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. But right now, Leeds have still only put one offer on the table for the player. It was rejected, and Leeds have yet to go back in with a second offer for the player. We'll have to wait and see if there's genuine interest in this one, or what's happening, or if it's just a case of people filling column inches while it's quiet around the place right now. The other story to get into is the increasing noise and rumour around Jack Clarke, and there has been more and more noise around this transfer situation over the last couple of weeks. Jack Clarke has already started this campaign in very strong form on the back of an incredibly strong season last year. Clarke has 2 years remaining on his current deal as well, so this season would probably be the main season where Sunderland could negotiate a decent price tag for the player before he moves into the last 12 months of his contract. Signing of this level would definitely be something that would ease Leeds fans' nerves right now and show us that we're heading in the right direction with the signings. Joe Donoghue in the Yorkshire Evening Post has also done some pieces on this morning, and he said a return to Elland Road of Jack Clarke cannot be ruled out at this point. Clarke has clocked up 50 goals in 114 appearances and is also being watched by several Premier League clubs. Donoghue says that a bid in excess of £20 million would be likely enough to get the Black Cats to part with the player. The report from Donoghue says that you cannot rule out a return to Elland Road by Jack Clarke because there is Premier League interest, but if that Premier League interest doesn't materialise in an offer, all of a sudden Leeds might become a more attractive option. There are some vague rumours floating around that Clarke would be in favour of a move back to Leeds as well, but the price tag would be the main one, and reports state that Clarke had maybe renegotiate a new contract at Sunderland until 2028, but according to the Sunderland Echo, those reports are wide of the mark. It would be a massive signing for Leeds. People are talking about Leeds selling him for 10 and buying him back for 20, but if you do football inflation, it's probably about the same in terms of cost you would pay for a player. But it would be a very strong signing. It would be a very good signing for Leeds. It would be a player who can get assists and get goals, would fill a similar kind of role to Chris Somerville, cutting in from the wing a little bit. And we saw him play very well against us last season as well. But £20 million just seems like a hell of a lot of money that you just can't really see Leeds parting with right now. And I really hope I'm wrong with that. I really hope when this window closes, we're in a situation where we're saying, see, we were all wrong. Everything's fine. We got all the players we want in. But it just feels like it's a bit too much money in this window to spend £20 million in the Championship. If you don't get promoted, you're in trouble, you know. And then moving on to the final story of today, and this one relates to the Joel Piroe number 10 position. And Daniel Farke's explanation of this: with the departure of Jorginho Rutter expected to go through today to Brighton, we were asking questions before the weekend of who will play in the number 10 position. Will we see Brendan Aronson go in there, or will it be Joel Piroe? Personally, I'd love to see Willie Nanto go into that position, but we got Joel Piroe, who historically has struggled in that number 10 role for Leeds United. And this is not me criticising Joel Piroe. Joel Piroe did not become an average player overnight. He hasn't fitted particularly well into Leeds United's system, and playing him in the 10 hasn't worked very well at all. This time last year, we were in a position where we were sitting here talking about the fact that Joe Piroe is not a number 10 and Leeds needed a different option in that. Eventually, Leeds swapped Piroe and Jorginho Rutter around in order to fix that problem. But here we are now again talking about Joel Piroe playing in the number 10 position. But Daniel Farke, after the game against West Brom, gave his reasoning for playing the player. And what Farke said was that Piroe was in a loose striker position more so than a number 10, not a classic number 10. And Farke acknowledged that he is not shining like a mobile number 10 would be, who would give you assists and creativity. But he does say that Piroe is one of the best finishers in this division in that position. But it should be said that Leeds created 0 goal scoring chances from outside the box or from anything outside of set pieces or a shot from inside our own half. Piroe had one wild shot from distance yesterday that didn't find the target. So having him in that position, if we're not creating chances for a finisher and he's not the one creating chances, causes a problem. On the situation, Farke said the following: I also wanted to reward him for his patience. He's always been working hard and patient when a player like Jorginho Rutter was playing in the 10. He's one of the best scorers of the last 3 years, and I wanted to reward him a little bit with trust and backing today. Now, that's all very fair, and again, this isn't criticism of Joel Piroe, but we have seen Joel Piroe in that number 10 position a lot, and we have never really seen it work at any point, and we are now putting a player into a position where people are talking about him in a negative light when it's not his fault. He's not a number 10. He's never been a number 10. He's been a second striker, if anything. But he has struggled for Leeds United in that number 10 position. And if Leeds aren't creating chances, then his scoring ability can't happen. And if he's the player that needs to create, the scoring chances aren't going to happen either. It's a really strange situation. Leeds need to get that sorted out. Leeds could play Willie Nanto in that position, or they could play Brendan Aronson in that position. They could even, I suppose, in the short term, play Joe Rothwell, but that's sacrificing the midfield position as well. So Leeds really do need to go and get that position sorted and bring a player in who can play in that role, because for me, it's not Joel Piroe, and it's not Joel Piroe's fault either that he's not a success in that role. It's not a position that he has played in historically. He's plays in a second 9 or a false 9 position or a deeper lying 9, but he's not the one that's designed to create the chances. And while Leeds aren't creating chances, people like Joe Piroe are unlikely to score goals, and Leeds created again at the weekend very, very little in that game and seemed to be set up to not lose that game, to try and keep a clean sheet and back to basics a little bit, which is fine in one sense. But we are 2 games into the season. We are 1 point better off than this time last year, but we are in a similar position that we were told we wouldn't be in this season, and yet here we are having the same conversations about the same things all over again. It's going to be a massive 2 weeks, folks, for everybody who is around Leeds United. If Leeds do not bring in the players that they need, this is going to be a slog of a season. And if Leeds don't bring in the players either, then a lot of the promises that were made earlier on this summer will have to be held to account around the 49ers information that they've given out to people that have to be held to account on that. And we'll cover that as and when it's finally done and dusted. But until then, Leeds are, I suppose, essentially 1 point better off than we were at this point last season. So what, a 91 point season that we're looking at if we get the ball moving. But we are lacking serious quality in parts of the pitch. But on paper, that Leeds team should still be good enough to beat a West Brom or beat other teams. But we'll have to see what happens in the next couple of weeks. Folks, that's going to be it from me. Massive thank you as always for supporting the channel. I'll be back tomorrow morning for more Leeds news. There will be a match day review tonight going over the game, and I'll confirm that a little bit later on today. So I'll talk to you later on. See ya.